Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about why the world needs Taurus. And yes, this pertains to the Sun, Moon, and Ascendant. Well, I think one thing about Taurus is the fact is their strong work ethic. Taurus can work very laboriously and for very long protracted periods and may accomplish a lot more in the long run than a lot of other people will. Yes, I understand Taurus can be very methodical and deliberate in how they move and in their actions and when they work, but they're very consistent and they're very reliable and dependable. And if you want to get a job done properly, I think you give it to a Taurus person. And the thing about it is, Taurus may appear like they're moving. I understand. Well, they do move in their own like a state of where they're very methodical and sometimes even plotting way, maybe to some degree. But they are very earnest, they're very hardworking people, and they have a certain loyalty about them as well. And I don't think Taurus people, from my understanding, my observations, my studies or whatever, they don't like to necessarily let somebody down because they are very loyal and steadfast people. And I think the world needs them because you get a lot more. You might not get as many things done or done in the right manner without Taurus people, and you'd have less reliability, and I think even sometimes punctuality as well because of it. You would have less deadlines, I think, made by people in terms of accomplishing tasks. And another thing about Taurus, why the world needs them, is because of their often astute economical ability. Many of you may have heard of Steve Forbes. He's a very intelligent as far as financial matters go. Obviously, he's very obviously. I mean, he's I don't know what his net worth is, but I'm sure it's in the billions, a lot more likely than not. And he has Taurus rising. Ironically enough, he's a Sun in Cancer as well. That's about the only thing I have in common with him, that we both have the Sun in Cancer and a Taurus Ascendant. I wish I had Steve Forbes' money, of course, but anyway, he has obviously tremendous financial acumen and that ability to make money, and I believe a lot of Taurus people do. I think you'd have a lot, maybe less the people that would be very proficient as far as like being a stockbroker or financial analyst, people in finance. You might have the same amount or near this comparable amount of them, but you would have less quality ones, I believe. Taurus people are actually they're also more analytical and articulate, I think, than a lot of people give them credit for. Yes, I understand that the air signs, I think, generally on average might be as far as the trinity, as far as the element, might be the smartest on average in a group. But I think, Taurus people that have Taurus prominent in their horoscopes, they could be smart in their own way as well. Taurus can also be rather reticent and unassuming, I think. So they don't really, it's not something that's readily flaunted. Whatever intellect they have, it's something that comes out in a way where it's not always, it doesn't always come out in a loud manner, but they can have. But Taurus is smart in their own way in certain things, and especially in the financial arena, I think. And I think they're very good with analysis and things that are detail oriented as well. And also, Taurus, I think, has the uncanny ability to really have a good idea and conception of the value of things as well. I mean, I think you'd have I would imagine a lot of Taurus people are like pawnbrokers and appraisers. They seem to know how much things are. And can evaluate it quicker than the average person based on the condition or what have you in the whatever, if it's the model or the year of something. And they really have a very good idea of those things. And I think you'd have less people that would really would have less quality people in those fields if Taurus wasn't around. And Taurus has the ability, because of their financial acumen often, that that obviously, I think, as far as facilitating the economy and doing things of that nature, I think Taurus has that ability as well, because that is connected with economics, and Taurus just has that way, I think, and also it's something about their survival ability, I think, with Taurus. Okay, there's something in them that even in really adverse conditions, they seem to be able to fight their way through with a lot of willpower. It's similar to Scorpio, of course, being another fixed sign. Taurus really has a very strong will, and you have, I think, really there without Taurus, you have maybe the less people maybe that can actually inspire others by, as far as working through adverse or difficult circumstances. Taurus has a very strong will, and they have a very quiet strength about them. So I think that's another asset of Taurus that a lot of times may go at least unnoticed by some people. I understand. You look at the Taurus ability also to persevere, to get through difficult times. I don't say a lot of positive things about myself, but I will say, having Taurus rising, I think that gives me very strong powers of perseverance and an ability to work through adverse or negative type circumstances. Many of you may know that I may have stated before, I was homeless from one time from 2006 to 2010. And there was another shorter period in 1994 when I was as well, but I found a way to bounce back. And yes, it was I got by with a little help from my friends, as the song goes, but I did so in one way or the other. And I think Taurus that way can be inspirational to others, and being able, even despite negative conditions in their lives at times, those, or the ones that do have it, the ones that aren't as affluent, like me, for example, that's not as affluent as probably the average Taurus person. But I think Taurus also has the ability to maximize their money, and be able, and because of the understanding, that strong conception of the value of things and how to survive, sometimes even with limited funds, the ones like me that aren't prosperous as far as from a monetary standpoint. And I think they could show others through that example. So in other words, another reason why the world may need Taurus is because Taurus can demonstrate to others how to maximize the dollars and cents, so to speak, and get the best bang for your buck, even when it's just general shopping, like at a supermarket or something. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for why the world needs Taurus. And stay tuned next time, where I will be continuing my Sun Ascendant combination series, and I will continue that. And two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel, but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.